What up? Welcome back. It is Bones, and today we're going to get into some custom work. Now, this is a figure I've been planning on for a while, but haven't really been able to finish it up, but now it is complete. Now, I did use the original release of the Armored Batman, the black version, as a base for this figure. Now, I did use the unmasked head that came with the Mattel Dark Knight Returns. The reason being is because I always thought that head was like really big. I just I just thought it was like a big head even for the armored Batman from that series. Now for the longest time I had an extra head and I wanted to use it, and this was just the perfect opportunity. Now, I did use some references from different places, but the main base for this idea was the Dark Knight Returns graphic novel, the way the armored Batman looks in that one, and also the Mattel release had a lot to do with this figure. I just wanted to get a more comic accurate color scheme. Now, recently they did release the blue edition of the Armored Batman. It did not stop me from doing this custom, even though that is kind of what they were going for, but this is completely different. So I'm pretty happy with it. Finally finished with it, which is really the best part. But I did do some cool stuff and add some things. So let's go ahead and take a look at them. Now, I did want to go for an unhelmeted Bruce Wayne version of the armored suited Batman, and that is what I went for. I did go with a different color palette to match more of the comic book version of this character. But all in all, I really liked the way the paint came out. Now, I did use some flat color, some matte, and then also a little bit of semi-gloss. But as you should know by now, I'm not a big fan of glossy, like plastic looking paint. I just don't like it that as much as I like a flatter finish, like a matte finish. I just think that a matte finish looks more like when they build a prototype or like the original sculpt work for a figure. I just like that clean matte look compared to when it's finally produced. It has a more plastic look because of the process that it goes through. But he looks pretty good. Let's take a look at the head. Now, this head did not fit exactly on the peg, the original peg. So what I did have to do was modify a peg to fit for this head, but it actually fit pretty well. We did not lose any articulation. Now the size is very accommodating to this body. It's just a perfect head. It's not too big, not too small. Actually looks really, really good. The articulation stayed the same, which is he can look down. He can look up. You got left to right. And then you can tilt his head for some character. Pretty nice. Now, I did make him an alternate head, which is the original helmet, but I did leave that in a matte black, solid black, deep black color. Now, I can switch the heads out, but this one has his own peg because it's a lot easier for this one to have his modified peg and this one to have the original peg. But trust me, when I switch them out, this head fits right on there, and you could actually have them with this armored helmeted head. Looks pretty good as well with this one. I just in my mind I just always envisioned them with an unhelmeted head, so that's this look. But you have the option, if you would like, to use this helmeted version, so that's pretty cool to have that choice. Now moving down, you got that more grayish blue monotone color for the armor, which is what I went for. Aside from probably underneath the neck is the only part I left like a dark black blue, just to separate it from the armor underneath his head. But the rest of it is that grayish, dark bluish mixture. Now I do accomplish this by mixing paint until I find the color I want, and then I actually make a good amount so that I won't run out as I'm painting. But really love the way the color matches the comic, more like a comic book style. I did leave the mesh like in between the arms, and wherever you see like a grayish tone, that stayed the same because it did pretty much look like the source material, so I didn't have to change that. But all in all, pretty good. He still has articulation, it's just limited of course because of the armor, and even the shoulders still work. You could get the pauldron to go up, you know, above the cape, and, you know, get it up there, you know, 90 degrees. And then he does have single jointed elbows still, and then he has that elbow swivel, which gives him a little bit more dexterity. Now in the gauntlets, I did add the same blue to the, like blue gray to the outer portion, but there is actually an inner portion where I added kind of like a darkish blue matte color, and I did the same thing for the gloves, making the inner glove part dark blue, and then the outer like shell armor that gray bluish color, so it could match, you know, use the same color scheme just to give it, you know, a complete color scheme. I also did the other side, and then moving down you get to that yellow belt. Now I did use two different yellows to achieve this like really bright yellow, and then I did seal it to prevent any rub. Moving down, you got that crotch guard that I did in the same armored color, and then the thighs. Moving down into the knee pads. Now the knee pad blue, dark blue, actually matches the one I used on the gauntlets and the gloves. And then going down below that, you have the lower shin guards, and I actually painted the blades on the gloves and the boots that dark blue, and then added the inside trim of blue. All of this just to give it like some flow, where it has the dark blue in places, but then it has that grayish matte, that grayish, more of a cobalt blue for the armored parts. But all in all, really happy with it. Looks good. Still retains articulation. Could bend the knees, the feet. Now I also did the boots. What I did on these is that the top part of the boot actually has that dark blue scheme, but then the lower part that's like frames the boot is actually like a black matte that I just sealed to give it like a little bit of protection. But he does retain toe articulation, and it just, like I said before, it's just to incorporate all the colors like throughout the figure, so that it all has, you know, it rhymes, it all mixes in together well. But pretty happy with him. He looks good. Looking at him from the bottom, I did add silver to all the spikes underneath the boots. Classic detail from the comics. And then moving up the back, you could see I did paint the rest of it, and even the belt. And then one of my favorite parts of this is the blue color that I achieved on the cape. Really nice blue. Really fits in with, you know, seals it all together for this figure. Now let's talk about his sonic blaster that I gave him. Now, I do have the original one from Mattel, but honestly this one's like kind of small, and it doesn't really fit in his hand as well as the new one that I got. So that made me decide not to use this one. I'll get some use out of it, but it just didn't fit for me for this figure, and that is why I ordered him this big, you know, sonic blaster that I actually ordered from I ordered a Nightmare Batman from the regular line from Batman v Superman, and they're smaller figures, like 5 inch, but the weapons are like really big. And this is actually from that figure, but I just painted it. I wanted to match it up with the suit, so I actually painted it this grayish blue underneath, and then more gray on top, and then I actually was able to add some silver little details just to give it some some spice. And then the front part is a baby sky blue to represent that sonic blast. So it actually fits really good in his hand, and all the fingers fit right around the grip, and even the trigger finger fits right through the trigger part of the blaster. So looks really good. All in all, I'm happy with them. Like, usually I don't really have a plan. Like, I kind of know what I want to do, but as I start painting it, it just has a life of its own. But really happy the way he came out. Now, I can decide either to put him with his helmet or have him unhelmeted, which is pretty much the way I'm going to have him. But it looks really good. Before we go, let's go ahead and bring in, here's the original black and gray version from McFarlane. And then recently we did get the blue version. But you could still see that even though this one has a little bit more of this color scheme, but they're still not the same. This is its own animal, and really happy to finally be done with them. Of course, we're going to be looking forward to that 2-pack that's going to come out, that's going to have a different head sculpt for this guy. But all in all, really happy with them. Gonna add them to the custom shelf. You guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.